What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar, and today we're going to talk about some budget decks. Without further ado, let's dive into the video and talk about it. So first off, let's get into this video. We're going to talk about none other than the Cross Wars new Hunters deck. This deck is going to be one of the most budget-friendly decks. I don't think you're breaking $50 with this. Right now, it's projected to be 82, but with Digimon card dev, everything goes for the highest version. So sometimes they'll pull the pre-release, but they're saying zeros across the board. You know, the only expensive cards that are going to be in the deck is you, Quartzmon, and Arrestromon Superior Mode. The rest are valued at commons to rares, uncommons, and like rares here. So why is this deck going to be one of the budget friendlies? Because any deck that only has like 6 super rares max doesn't mean the rest of the deck's going to be expensive. Clockmaker might be $1 at max, and that's really just going to push it. The rest aren't going to be breaking piggy banks at all. I think really what it's going to be coming down to is Arrestromon Superior Mode and Quartzmon really making the deck. The rest are commons to uncommons. So that's going to make or break things unless you want to max rarity it, and then, you know, you're going to be breaking everything you own to do so because they are in the an awfully high amount of uncommon. So that is something to really think about there if you are planning on building this deck. This deck is straight up pre-release stamped, going to be one of the most expensive decks you're going to probably build. But on the low end budget side, this deck is going to be cheap. The ability to use Quartzmon and Arrestromon Superior Mode is really nasty because being able to end of turn, this Digimon has 4 or more Digi-Evolutions, this Digimon can attack without suspending. Really useful, very powerful. And then this thing, by placing one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon under one of your opponent's other Digimon as a bottom Digi-Evolution card or under their tamer. For each tamer you have with a different color, increase the maximum level of this effect by 1. So you have plenty of colors across the board, which will help you out. And that's really the main objective here. You just need to get 3 colors, and you're in a good spot. I mean, the only one that can't be really blown up very easily is the Tigeru, but he is your mem setter. And, I mean, hey, being able to combo play into your stuff really does help out at the end of the day. And I think, all in all, the deck has a lot of potential. Even just having access to Omni Shout, being able to, while the Digimon has 4 Digi-Evolution cards, again Security Plus, but also being able to, for every 2 Digi-Evolution cards at 3000 DP, can kill most Megas just by playing your Hunter's deck naturally. So with this theme and archetype, you actually have a good way out. This deck probably isn't breaking $50. If not, it's on the cusp of 50. And that's what kind of this video is, trying to make it so you guys aren't spending more than $50 on a deck, and that is kind of the gist. So next, let's talk about Mirvamon Crossheart. So you could build the other crossout version, which is ×7 with superior mode and stuff like that, but this version to me is no more than basically $50. Why am I saying this? Is because this is a $5, $6 card, and this is your $4.55. If I bring up the calculator, if I can do that, let's bring in the calc, because right now it's pulling the max rarity cards, and that's what's happening here. Is like Ignitemon is being $5 right now, and there's no way Ignitemon is $5. Most of this is 20 cents across the board. I mean, Blinding Ray is going to be your next expensive card at 88 cents. But if you take a look at, you know, Pikmon's being $10, that's not true. Pikmon's like 25 cents. So times that by 4, you know, that's $1. So if we went $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, you know, $8, $9, $10, $9, you know, $9 for all this base. That's not terrible. And even times 4 is like 15 cents. So if we take into account that Mirvamon and the times 5. So 5 times, let's just go, what, 5 copies is $25. And then basically the rest of it is dirt cheap, you know. And I said $1 for each. We had like $9 there. You know, we're basically at $34 for this whole thing, which isn't terrible. To be honest with you, paying like $34 for a deck that is very competitive is very interesting for a lot of players, and it's budget friendly. What does Mirvamon kind of do? Like, because it's different build than the, you know, times 7, where it wants to build stacks and create interesting boards. Mirvamon wants to play the cross-heart normal shenanigans, what it wants to do, but as the game progresses, as you draw more cards, get more cards, you want to get your gravity crushes in hand and set up blinding rays in your hand to the point where you, when it comes your turn, you can activate blinding ray, remove, you know, your security to gain 2 memory, and you do this so that it builds up a massive, you know, keep it your turn kind of strat, where then when you do Mirvamon for its Digicross of, you know, for 1 Digimon and bring it down for 8, if you have Ignitemon, you can make it a 7 cost, but if you do it, if you can't, that's not a big deal. But what she's going to do is take, you know, your times 4, replay them to get those extra draws to help you dig deeper, and then you use times 3 to dig deeper as well to get your pieces and build up for, you know, getting a times 5 out, you know, Mirvamon just spitting out bodies, and they all have rush to be able to attack in. So the deck has a different kind of playstyle to its counterpart, where this one focuses on using Mirvamon to spit out bodies to go in. And it's a really fast-paced deck. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, you use your rookies, fuel up on their tamers, and, you know, times 3 and your time 4s become re-accessible because of Mirvamon, and that's going to be really useful. And then even at worst case, you build up a body blocker through Mirvamon with a bunch of bodies. As long as they don't have DDG Evolution, they have to answer 3 blockers, possibly, if you didn't go for the kill. And, you know, even at worst case, playing her to pass the opponent's turn, sometimes that 3 blockers is just enough to keep you in the game. And, you know, the more times you Mirvamon, you're going to just get some decent value out of it. And then another cheap, budget-friendly deck in the dirt cheap range. This is not $6. They're pulling the event pack version, which I think, you know, if you're going to go for anything, you could go with D-Reaper. D-Reaper definitely has some competitive standpoints and stand grounds. You know, using searchers to help memory choke your opponent down to 1 really does add up in some circumstances. And what you want to keep in mind is that either you go Gazimon or you go like Sukama. You go with the ones that say you can't reduce Digi-Evolution costs. So, you know, so that you kind of slow down green in some capacity, or decks that, like hunters, that want to use their tamers to reduce their Digi-Evolution costs down to 0 so that it keeps their turn. Because they don't care if you memory choke them, because they're going to reduce that line up, take the 2, boom. Now it's costing them nothing to do so. So stuff like that does add up. You have like searchers to draw, you know, Jerry's to fuel Mama to get her going. You know, Mother, as long as you're not facing a heavy format where they can swing into your Digimon, which the problem comes down to is Mother does struggle a little bit in this format just because Raid is a mechanic, but it is a very budget-friendly deck as long as you're not walking into a Raid fest, which sometimes you will. But at the end of the day, like worst case, if you face hunters with this deck, they're going to bottom certain pieces, but they're going to just speed up Mother because Mother can basically, you know, wants to have the reduced Digi-Evolution cost, you know, but it doesn't do anything with the searchers, which is fine, but it's the fact of that you just speed up Reaper by doing so, or you speed up your gatekeepers or your optimizers. Stuff like that does add up. I mean, they can easily remove the gatekeeper and bottom it under your Mother, but that's fine. Wait, let me double check this. Oh, cannot attack or is unaffected by your opponent's effect. Depends. That Digimon, I would have to double check that, but I don't think hunters can. I think hunters can put stuff under her, but that's about it. Or they can't. One of the two. If that's the way, let me know down in the comments. But outside of that, I don't think we're crazy have to worry about much except for raid. Then we do have Blue Flare as another budget-friendly option. Blue Flare, especially if you don't play the Greymons, the red-based Greymon stuff, it actually becomes a very budget-friendly deck. No more than $50. Again, pulling from expensive cards. This is pulling from the highest version, which is its foil count. Wanyumon's only 20 cents. So if you take out this drops it down to like $51. You know, stuff like this does add up to be really nice, or even less than that. But Sayokomon here is one you want to really play in this format, paired to Madoki Beta. You want to slow down that cannot reduce Digi-Evolution cost is really important in certain plays, just because it's either stop the memory game or reduce cost. You know, there's a lot of decks that are doing a lot more reducing of the costs, and you want to kind of just slow that down a little bit. But you can also go Madoki Beta if you guys are wanting to go that route. But to be honest with you, this deck is just a starter deck at this point, because once you get into EX4, which will be in June, is going to help you get into it. What do I mean by that? Well, you want to have stuff for it. So Blue Flare definitely gets that big boost it needs in EX4. I mean, yeah, EX4 that allows it to basically do all its effects without having to worry about things. And what do I mean by that? Well, it gains support in the form of its new counterparts of its Blue Flares. Like, it has when attacking draw, and then it has when attacking jamming. So now instead of that 2 Digimon opponent requirement, this deck can now just aggro and not have to worry about it too much. You know, that's a different strategy, because having the jamming and then being able to apply pressure that way really does add up sometimes, and just being able to clear security can be really nice. And you know, the deck has its ups and down moments, but the deck is still quite powerful. There's nothing wrong with that. And I mean, hey, there are a lot of potentials in how you want to play it, but definitely a very budget-friendly deck option as well. And then finally, I got to give it to Commandramon. Mercurymon is definitely a new card that really does help it out just a little bit, because of the on-play when Digivolving one of your Digimon gains blocker until the end of turn. You know, being able to make it so you get a couple extra blockers on board, not terrible. I think going this route is your better option, using like DG Dimensions, you know, Digivolving Ultimate Flares, Iron Fist Onslaughts, just security bombs that they don't really want to deal with. You know, they have Pride Memory Boost. You know, you could use Kongu, but Kongu would be more useful in the following sets when Shine Greymon gets a little more out of hand, because a lot of decks can now just hide in raising and build up, so Kongu's not as beneficial as it was. So that stuff like that does matter. But I think all in all, these are great budget decks to get you into it. The deck's no more than $40. Like, to be honest with you, another reason why it's expensive here is just because they're pulling the high rarities. Like Digifest here version, the Event Pack 1 version. This one's pulling nothing too crazy out of that. I think Izzy's the next one. Yeah, Izzy's pulling from its high rarity. It's just stuff like this is dirt cheap. Deck is not going to break banks. And, you know, this will definitely do you some good with your locals. So, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know down in the comments if there's any budget decks you guys think should have been added to the list. I'm going with budget decks that can at least do something in the locals, you know, under the right circumstances. I didn't want to put Sukuyamon, you know, with the plugins, because that gets a little expensive. Well, not even expensive, but the deck just needs its neck around to support, or maybe be able to do something. And its best combo is being able to use Kaiser Nail. And again, there's decent possibilities with that deck, but you know, stuff like that, the deck needs a lot more support, and I don't want to give you a bump steer and go like, oh, this is budget, I'll take this to locals, and then get creamed. And that's not what you want to do. You want to be able to at least win a couple games and feel like you accomplished something, and then be able to rework the deck. You know, that's how you want to be able to play. And I think, you know, D-Reaper being like the only deck I kind of think is, you know, a little bit more lenient on certain aspects, you know, that does mean something. But, you know, it all comes down to later in the games and stuff. And I think taking these into considerations and understanding is that I want you guys to be able to at least play your locals and feel confident enough that you can actually win something. So, guys, hopefully in the video you like it, comment on it, and guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace!